All right. Hi, everybody. Welcome to another episode of the Astro Read. It's been a little while. We're happy to be back with you. And we are focusing on this episode with a viewer question, and it's about love again. I mean, what a surprise. People want their love questions answered, on the Astro Read, but that's something that comes top of mind to a lot of people. So I'm going to put the individual's chart on the screen so we can refer to it as we discuss this person. So this person is a female in her 30s or early 30s. And she wants to know, what are her love tendencies? What can she expect when it comes to relationships? And what can she expect? Any tidbits that can help her, in knowing what she can expect in relationships, the good, the bad, the ugly. So we're gonna dive in and see what we can find. So Stella, what are your thoughts upon a quick analysis? Like, do you think this person is meant to have challenges in love? Is she
I
lucky
absolutely think that there will be challenges. We are looking right now at a Placidus chart, so it's a little bit different. But from her whole signs chart, all you have to do is just shift all of the signs like one down. And you'll see that her first house in the whole signs chart is in Aries. So I'm looking at a more approach where we're balancing out her seventh house. What's going on in the seventh house that is causing maybe some friction, because no one comes to asking these questions if there isn't some sort of issue. And I would say having a very strong first house, you have the North Node there, you have Jupiter there, your ascendant is there. You're really like putting yourself in a position where a lot of focus is on yourself and working on yourself. And I would say that this person is going to need to really work on themselves in order to attract the right partner. And that process is not necessarily supported by their Mars in the second house. So that I'm going through each house to really, explain it holistically. And the Mars in the second house is more motivated financially than anything else. So her motivations are financial, material, etc. And that does not lend to someone who is going to work more off of their feelings. There's going to be certain expectations on their partner that is not necessarily related to the emotional aspects. So, maybe working on themselves in order to attract the right partner, maybe working on what their needs are, or even better, focusing and unabashedly admitting that there is a standard that they have of wealth, of material possession, of sort of the experiences that they want to have in their relationship, especially as to the aspect of Saturn and Uranus in their ninth house. So these sort of unexpected, the sign Uranus is the sign of just a little bit of chaos, a little bit of craziness, and then the sign of time, or not the sign, sorry, the planet of lessons. Saturn is right next to it. And I personally have this conjunction as well, but it's in my fourth house. In the ninth house, its expression is more leaning towards the lessons that they are going to learn from the outside, from the cultures that they interact with, from the people that they attract in their lives that are foreign, from the foreign experiences that they have, and having this conjunction up there, the lessons maybe in matrimony, maybe in relationships are coming from their experiences with someone who is foreign, with someone who is not, of this country that they're currently in. Maybe they need to leave their home country in order to experience a true relationship, a true connection. And then going on to Venus, and that Venus Mars balance. Mars is how you receive love. Venus is how you give love. Venus being in the 11th house is focused on, how you look and the appearances that you have in terms of your relationships. Your friendships are important, and how your friends perceive the one that you love, how that person is giving you a status, that person is giving you the ability to connect on a material level, with others that are at a higher level. And, a lot of people are, oh, it's materialistic, it's this, it's not. You have a standard. Do not go below it. Focus on a person who is going to provide the lifestyle that you desire. Focus on the person that is going to create the image that you desire in the person that you want. It's not wrong. Nothing is wrong. A lot of times we look down upon women who expect, to be treated a certain way. Don't ever settle for less, especially with the type of chart that you have. Don't settle for someone who is not fully engaged in providing everything that you desire, and that doesn't mean you can't also be, an equal partner. It doesn't mean, that you can't be supportive of them and also work. But it means if you want to travel more, if you want to do certain things, if you want to have the house and everything else, it will be really through this relationship that you can obtain it, and also through your friendships that you can connect to that relationship. Right? So your friendship circles should be elevated. The people that you're around should be of a certain status so that you are also able to attract the right person. And then, of course, we have Black Moon Lilith in Cancer. So, that's the secret feminine, right? That's the feminine qualities that we are not necessarily proud of or not necessarily allowed to express. And in the sign of Cancer, you are the mother bear, so to speak. And in the fourth house, it's in its own house. Cancer is in its own, traditional house. You're more likely to be the type of person who's more focused on the family and establishing a family with someone. And it's sort of contradictory to what Black Moon Lilith is. So you're kind of like a tug of war between the traditional and, being the evolutionary, badass woman that you want to be.
Yeah.
So it is a little bit contradictory, but you find solace in that and in the family, in creating the family. And that's sort of your type of rebellion, that you are going against sort of what everyone else is doing. And like I said, Jupiter in the first house is going to expand everything that is personal, everything that is about you. So your focus on yourself ultimately can be, a promotion and a hindrance to you finding love. And then it being opposite your seventh house, which is the house of your relationships, is also something that can be hindering, because that oppositions from Jupiter will expand, not just positively, but more so negatively, all of the aspects that, maybe you're being too focused on yourself when it comes to your relationships. Maybe you're too focused on the things that are going on in your personal life versus your romantic life. And then, of course, a North Node being in the first house, that is my last tidbit, is your trajectory in your life. The sort of karmic experience that you're here to have on Earth is about you, is centered around you, as opposed to being in the seventh house, where it would be centered around and empowered by a person that you love. You are here to really raise yourself evolutionarily, especially being that you, in this incarnation that you were born in, you are Aries, Aries rising. So that experience in and of itself is something that you are more focused on yourself in general, because Aries is the first sign of the zodiac. It represents the self. It represents you as an individual. So you want to really understand your lack of romantic relationship is not because your lack as a person. It's because you are here to improve yourself in some way. You are here to focus on yourself in some way. And those relationships should support that higher evolution, whether it's financially, emotionally, etc., materially. They should all be focused on that. So don't be afraid to surround yourself, whether it's physical wealth or wealth of personality. Look for people who elevate you in those ways. And that's the circle that will connect you with the person that you're interested in. So, I don't know if you want to add anything else, because I really went really deep.
Yeah, no, you did. You gave so many good insights. And thanks, Stella. Like, you gave really good insights and things that I want to kind of piggyback off of. So it's interesting that you mentioned Black Lilith in the 4th house of home and family, and how that will be so important for this person. Another thing I noticed is that our viewer has a T-square. So that's, for those that are not familiar, that's when 3 planets are pretty much kind of all opposing each other in a way, and make a T shape. So I'm going to use the spotlight. Hopefully this works on the chart. So we've got, and again, like Stella mentioned, this chart that's on screen is in Placidus house system. So Placidus house, each of the house systems will put the houses or the slices of the pizza pie at certain points. And the whole sign, which is another house system that we refer to, will have the houses starting at different degrees potentially. But according to this chart, we've got in the 1st house, Mars in Taurus. And then it, like you mentioned before, Stella, that Mars opposes the moon, which is in Scorpio in the 7th house.
Yep.
And then the bottom of the T would be Venus in the 1st. So basically you've got Mars, the planet of action, desire, perhaps sexual desire and drive in the 1st house, which is at odds or needs a balancing act with, Venus in the 10th house, which I think combines would mean, desiring a romantic partner that has status, that has those standards that you mentioned. And then so her sexual desire, what she desires romantically, is also at odds or needs a balancing act with her emotions, right? And so it's just so it's her sexual desire and her self-drivenness is at odds with her desire for status in a relationship or getting that from a romantic relationship, and is also at odds with her deep emotions in regards to relationships. And what brings this T-square into balance is what would turn the T into a cross. So you've got Mars here, I'm putting my pointer here, and then you've got the moon, and then you've got Venus. And opposite Venus, which her Venus is at 19 degrees Aquarius, 19 degrees Leo, which would be the opposite, would be in her 4th house. So her 4th house, which the 4th house represents emotions, the family, mother, is what would bring balance between her self-desires and how she is in relationships and what she desires in relationships. So I find that really interesting. So there is this focus on home, and not only through the Black Lilith, but the T-square and what brings balance to the T-square. But then there's also this dichotomy where this chart has a strong 9th house Sagittarius influence, and that's all about expanding your horizons. And Stella, you were mentioning that, this person might end up finding a significant other from a different culture, or might need to live in another country to find fulfillment or romantic fulfillment. Funny enough, you don't know this, but the viewer has lived in the States and Peru for most of her life, back and forth. Yeah. So she is from Peru, but has lived in the States and back and forth. So she really has had this dual country lifestyle for most of her life. So kind of that Sagittarian feel of finding home in another country has been very much at play in this person's life. So what are your thoughts on that? On the 4th house, which represents home and emotions, being this stabilizing force in these different areas of this person's life that could be at odds, like they're, being their emotions or sense of self, what they want in relationship.
Well, I would definitely go. There are 2 things that I didn't mention that or maybe like I already mentioned one and I combined them. But the moon being in Scorpio, and it's in a water sign, it's in a comfortable sign, but sort of the fact that there's this view that the person has that there has to be depth in relationships. Moon and Scorpio in the seventh house in the Placidus chart, there has to be some sort of depth in a relationship. It can't be that they only want things that are material. And maybe they question that, maybe they doubt in that. Don't doubt in that. That's what I would lean on, not doubting in the things that you need in order to feel fulfilled in your relationships. Mm-hmm. Don't look for partners that would not be qualified according to your standards. And that's where that Black Moon Lilith and Cancer comes in. Your standards are contradictory to what the current, maybe the current experiences are of women within our society, what men say they don't want in women, when in reality, that leaning into those needs that you have as a human being in order to be fulfilled fully in your relationships, not just emotionally, but in terms of materially, will really lean towards that. And you bring a depth to that material connection. You are a moon in Scorpio. So don't doubt that you can find a person who can give you that depth, but also provide materially in this lifetime. And of course, focusing on the fact that Pluto is in its own sign as well. You have not a conjunction necessarily, but they're in the same sign, Moon and Pluto in the sign of Scorpio. So that's sort of that idea of healing through this sign, and that the power dynamics within your relationships might be that you have a partner who is, more masculine, who can provide more towards your needs as a female. And to create the home, you would be the one to really create the home and to utilize the wealth that person, or that the person that you're connected to, or between the both of you that you create, you would be able to provide a home through that. And that would be fulfilling to you. Don't doubt in that. You're really motivated by material. You're really motivated by wealth. Lean into that. Don't focus on what society believes about women, or what they should or shouldn't be, or, the equal standards between men and women, let's call them. And I don't say this that I'm not saying that I believe that in this or that. I'm saying that this is your chart. Your chart has certain needs, and paying attention to the current, balance between men and women might not be a need that you have. You might want someone who provides for you. And focusing on that will allow you more freedom and more success in terms of attracting the right person. And of course, being that you have Mercury in Pisces, you probably a very good communicator when it comes to the types of conversations you need to have in romance, the conversations that maybe connect someone in a deeper level to you. You're very intuitive when it comes to who you're speaking with. Yeah, that's the analysis that I really have. Don't be afraid of the archetypes of men and women in terms of how you attract your partners. And just be open to looking for your partner at a higher income level, creating yourself at a higher standard and setting higher standards for yourself, because that is how you will attract someone to your life. And it also expresses the energy of Jupiter and North Node in the first house. So, what you expand on making yourself a better person, making yourself, experience higher, sorts of income moments, whether that be that you have jobs that allow you to earn more money, or you surround yourself with people who are higher earners, that inspire you, that push you to work harder. Those types of things will allow you to expand in this lifetime. So
yeah. So what one of the main points I'm gathering, from all the insight you shared right now, Stella, is how standards and status, our values, and are really important when it comes to this person and what might be a good fit for them in a romantic partnership, or what they might look for even. So let's combine that with exploring Venus and Juno. So I love to look at both Venus and I always love to look at Venus and Juno when it comes to romantic relationships. And I'm using my little the little spotlight here to highlight these two parts of the chart. So Venus, it's represented by this symbol here, the circle with like the cross at the bottom. And Venus is the planet of love. And so in a person's chart, it could represent what they look for and what they're drawn to in a romantic situation. And then Juno, this little firecracker looking symbol here, is an asteroid. Actually, Juno is not a planet, it is an asteroid, and it represents what somebody would need or could be drawn to, actually more so what they need for a successful long-term romantic partnership. And I always like to look both, because it's interesting to see where Venus and Juno are placed in a person's chart. I've seen situations with clients where they might have a Venus in, say, Sagittarius, which could mean that, they could be romantically drawn to somebody that's adventurous and that's philosophical and could be from a different culture. But then their Juno might be in Cancer. So, even though they might be drawn to somebody that is adventurous and likes to travel, somebody that would be a good fit for them could have the Cancer traits of being homebound and setting up a home. So then for somebody that has really different signs and placements for Juno and Venus, that person would have to think about, how do you reconcile what you're drawn to and what you actually need? The good thing with this person's chart is that Venus and Juno are both in the same house, in the same sign. So they are both in Aquarius, and they're both in the 10th house. So that's good. That's like half the battle. So that means for this person, what they're drawn to could actually be what they need and would be good for them for a long-term relationship. That's half the battle. So that's good. So this person doesn't have that challenge of there being a difference in what she's attracted to and what she needs. The thing is just being aware of that and going for that. So with Venus in Aquarius and being in the 10th house, my interpretation of that is, this person could probably be drawn to or be a good fit with somebody that has a friendship vibe, maybe somebody that's a friend first, and then it develops into something more, somebody that could provide some freedom in the relationship. And what that means would be up to that person, because everybody has different definitions of what freedom of relationships is. And I think needing freedom in a relationship complements this person's strong first house focus that's in her chart, and that need for independence and becoming more of herself and her best self. So somebody that supports that in an Aquarian way would be great, I think. She probably will need somebody that appreciates her independence, her potential, and her need for freedom in some kind of way. So she probably would be a good fit with somebody that's a strong partner, but that person probably can't hold her down. Like she probably gets like this, I can imagine she probably gets this fear of like being held down, being stifled. And then with Venus being in the 10th house, she's probably drawn to somebody with status, somebody that has a really good career, somebody that makes good money, somebody that's driven in some kind of a pursuit, whether it's a career, a side hustle, whatever the case may be. And then with Juno being pretty much close, not right next to, but pretty close to Venus, being in Aquarius, being in the 10th house, it's, what would be good for her in a long-term romantic relationship is very similar. Somebody that allows her some kind of freedom and some kind of pursuits and her own thing outside of the relationship. Somebody that's focused on their career. This person, the viewer might find their soulmate either in the workplace while pursuing their career passion, or amongst their friend group, somebody that's a friend and then turns into something more. This viewer might do well being in a power couple, where she and the significant other are, both excelling in their careers, maybe doing a business together, like power couple is something that would probably be very desirable for this person if possible. in regards to Juno and the aspects that it has, I like to look at the aspects that Juno has because it gives insights just further insight as to what a person would need for a successful long-term relationship, but also the potential challenges and what kind of challenging traits they tend to attract in a romantic interest or partner. So Venus is next to Juno. They're only apart by 8 degrees. And so what this could mean is that, again, there's that alignment of what the person is drawn to romantically and what's good for them in a long-term romantic relationship. But also there's the possibility and the capability of engaging in creative romantic relationships. So this person, if she meets her soulmate, her person, maybe her and that person end up, going into business together. That could be a possibility. But then the Juno, this person's Juno is in good aspect with the North Node, which means that with this person achieving their North Node, which Stella, you had mentioned as being in Aries and in the first house. So very much about being your best self, becoming yourself. According to the Placidus house system, the North Node is in the 12th house in Aries. So that's also interesting. Yeah. So we could talk about that a little bit later on what that could mean, that interpretation. But either way, this person achieving their soul purpose and soul journey supports entering a long-term romantic partnership, which I think is good because sometimes people have their Juno in challenging aspect to their soul purpose, which could mean that the person's soul evolving could present challenges for a relationship. But in this case, that's not what's happening. Unfortunately, though, this person's Juno has quite a bit of challenging aspects. So Juno is square Pluto. And so Pluto is that scary kind of planet, misunderstood, I wouldn't say the rebel. Uranus is the rebel, but Pluto is like
power and control.
Power and control. Pluto is like the dictator / emo child of astrology. And so individuals that have Pluto in challenging aspect with Juno could experience power struggles in relationships. People with this type of aspect could be attracted to powerful people, people that are intense, that have this sense of like power. And that could be challenging for this person because this viewer should be going for the person that's powerful and driven, because the Juno and Venus are in the 10th house. However, this could also lead to challenges because of Pluto being square Juno. So at its worst, the person could end up attracting somebody that's, very demanding, very authoritative, to the point of being like a dictator in the relationship. So ways to potentially combat that is having that balance of, okay, owning the fact that you look for power in a person and drive, but knowing what are the healthy limits, how can you be in a relationship with somebody that's powerful, but also be in tune with your own power and have a quality in the relationship? Because at the end of the day, Juno and Venus are in Aquarius, which is an air sign, like a friendly sign. So that needs to be in place. And there needs to be mutual trust and forgiveness, like forgiving yourself. So this person needs to learn how to forgive themselves and learn how to forgive others to have that healing that's needed, whether it's after a relationship that has not worked out or within a relationship that's currently happening. Juno, this viewer's Juno is in challenging aspect to Vesta. So I'll point to Vesta in the chart. So Vesta is the V here, and it's in the first house and it's in Taurus. So Vesta in the first house is adding to this person's strong focus and self. Stella, I see see you shaking your head. What are your thoughts on this?
No, continue. I'm like so excited to hear you. Go ahead.
Yeah, no, okay. That's good to know. I love to hear your insight. So if you have anything, if you want to interrupt at any point as I give my spiel, feel free. But yeah, Vesta in the first house is adding to what Stella has been saying. This person has a strong focus on finding their identity, having their own goals, all this stuff. But this could get in the way or be a challenge with having a successful long-term, romantic relationship. So again, that balance of being in relationship to another that's equal and one in which the person's not being dominated in, but also focusing on the goals that this person may have. So Also, another challenging aspect, the moon. This person's moon is in square aspect to Juno. So this person's moon, like we mentioned before, in the very secretly emotional and moody Scorpio, very strong feelings there. And it's square Juno. So they make about a 90 degree angle. Not exactly exact, but close enough. And so people with this aspect, they may have trouble meeting their emotional needs and those of their partners. So they may either not know how to meet the partner's emotional needs, or they may take on the partner's emotional needs to the point where it becomes their needs. There might be like a lack of boundaries there of emotional needs. This aspect can also bring out possessiveness, jealousy, or dependency in a relationship. There could be manipulation, emotional manipulation, whether it's coming from this person or from the person's romantic interest. So again, a challenging dynamic to deal with that's kind of reminiscent of the challenging aspect Juno already has with Pluto when it comes to power struggles. But with the moon also being involved as a challenging aspect, it could take on an emotional nature, this type of power struggle. There could be manipulation and control that happens in the relationship through emotional outbursts and temper tantrums, whether it's from this person or the person's romantic partner. And this person is probably drawn to people that are feelers, sympathetic, compassionate. But again, this person has to get a sense of balance of when it's too much. Like, if this person is drawn to somebody that's sensitive or emotional, that makes sense. This person's moon is in Scorpio, but kind of knowing where the boundaries are, right? So it'll be important for this person to have a sense of their own emotional security and fulfillment, and knowing how to get that somewhat through a relationship in a healthy way, but also finding ways to find that within themselves and within other outlets, whether it's creativity, friendships, whatever the case may be. It'll be important for this viewer to have a sense of meeting her own emotional needs and not having to fully or predominantly rely on the relationship to bring that about. Because if that ever ends up happening, it will lead to the negative traits of Moon Square Scorpio, the codependency, the emotional manipulation, which is something that is better left avoided if possible. And then to add to that, the last aspect I'll mention for Juno is that Mars is in challenging aspect to Juno. So again, I'll use the little spotlight. We've got Juno here, little firecracker, and it's square Mars. So actually, if we think about it, Juno, Mars, Moon also make a T-square. So
yep. I was just going to say that. I was like, look what I just...
Yep. So another T-square that's in the chart that we pointed out. So again, Mars square Juno leads to a similar result of there being a potential for domination and power struggles in a partnership. There could be possibility for aggressiveness, anger, arguments, very, kind of intense arguments in a relationship. And a person with this type of aspect, with Mars square Juno, will be attracted to somebody that's assertive, again, powerful, goes after what they want. But the worst manifestation of this could be attracting somebody that has those qualities, but is also, can be abusive, can be self-centered, can steamroll the person. So it is important for this person to try to combat that by looking for union and equality and harmony in the relationship. So I guess what I'm gathering from this,
I just want to say the anchor of the fourth house, look for someone who believes in family, look for someone who is family oriented. That will really help solve a lot of those power struggle issues. That will help you to find someone who is more focused on creating family with you, as opposed to having you sort of, run a household while they, don't have to do anything, don't pick up anything. You don't want to end up in a situation where you're subservient because of the way that you have your, your North Node in Aries. You want to find someone who really values you and values your home and values creating a home with you. So, look at that trait as maybe as important as finding someone who can provide. but also someone who can channel that energy into creating a family with you. So.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, because at the end of the day, this viewer definitely, I get the sense from the chart that this person is loyal in relationship, faithful, wants a relationship, especially with Libra in the on the descendant. So Libra starting the seventh house. But there's challenges there that need to be made aware of to then be able to overcome and not fall so much in the pitfalls of. And yeah, really good point, Stella, with really the key for a lot of things in this person's chart, whether it's just life or especially romantic relationship, is that focus on family, somebody that has that foundation, somebody that values it just as much as this viewer does. So yeah, those are the potential things that this person can look for. I'm curious also to, gather our insights as to this person's Chiron. So I will put the spotlight on the Chiron. So the Chiron, for those that are not familiar, is the K kind of shape here that the spotlight is on. So this person's Chiron is in Gemini, which is the sign that's all about communication, thought process, and it's in the second house. So I find that kind of interesting. The second house has to do with value, whether it's a lot of times has to do with financial value, like how many financial resources, material resources you have, but it also has to do with self-worth, self-value. So, my interpretation of Chiron being in Gemini in the second house is that it's not, and by the way, Chiron, for those that are not familiar, represents one's internal emotional wound, right? Everybody has internal wounds. Everybody has so-called baggage, but we just have it in different ways. And Chiron is one of those parts of the natal chart that you can look to see what potential wounds do you have and have had to deal with in your life. So with this viewer having Chiron in Gemini in the second house, I don't think it's an internal wound that is very directly related to romantic relationship, but I could see it potentially impacting indirectly how somebody shows up in relationship, whether it's romantic or whatever else. So, Gemini is all about communication, being able to communicate upfront and communicate what's needed. I also have Chiron in Gemini, so I can relate to that challenge of not being able to communicate or feeling or being hard on myself for how I communicate. So this person may have the same feeling, but it may come up in the areas of life that have to do with finances, that have to do with it communicating a sense of worth. And so I can see that, having a challenging impact on relationships. Like imagine if you second guess how you communicate to somebody, or more importantly, in this case, if you second guess or have challenges with how you communicate your sense of worth to others. So what are your thoughts on that, Stella? Any insights that come up in regards to this person's Chiron?
It ties into everything that we've been talking about. There is like when we spoke about Britney Spears and sort of, was she really crazy or was she not? And this sort of asks the question, are you willing to admit the things that you need in relationship? Are you willing to admit to yourself that you do not want to be with someone that will let your life be a struggle or let your material possessions not be the focus? Are you willing to overcome the societal image of the type of woman who has a material need? Because there is a negative connotation to women in this society, in this time, to women who need to be provided for, who want to be provided for women who want a partner who is willing to work, who want a partner who is either equal or they're superior in income, and that sort of wound of what is your true value? What are you really worth in this lifetime, and that you're willing to ask a partner to live up to? Are you willing to overcome, the Lilith and Cancer and really be the rebellious one in the image of what women should and shouldn't be in this lifetime? And yes, I want to be provided for. I want to be taken care of. I want to have a partner who is, elevating me financially, emotionally, physically, on the level of friendships and the people that they surround themselves with. Am I willing to do the work to attract that person, to attract that type of partner? Am I willing to overcome this fear that I am, either what are the type of words that they describe, like, materialistic or,
Mm-hmm.
gold digger, whatever negative connotations, those are not true for you.
Mm-hmm.
You need someone who can do these things, because you will not, I'm telling you, you will not truly find someone that will create the type of lifestyle that you need in this life, the one that you are truly willing to step into and express.
Mm-hmm.
Am I saying that this is the perfect sort of layout for someone who can attract a rich partner? Not necessarily rich in terms of, wealthy, like billionaire status, millionaire status. No, someone who's willing to provide for his family, and who
Mm-hmm.
values his family, and who wants to establish a connection with you that provides, the type of material needs and heals. Maybe, whether you experienced poverty when you were young and you want to change that legacy, or you have sort of a tumultuous relationship with money that you've never felt that it's, been there for you. He's willing to transform that with you and
Mm-hmm.
help you in that transformation. Doesn't have to be a millionaire, but has to be someone who knows he has to provide for his family. He can be the type of man who is reliable, dependable, especially with Mars in Taurus. You cannot be with someone who is not willing to do that.
Mm-hmm.
And then men see that. So I think that this is where there's a conversation about, will she ever find love? I think that's something that she asked, right?
Mm-hmm.
And like, men see that need, and they may not be willing to live up to it.
Mm-hmm.
So instead of surrounding yourself with the type of men who do not want to live up to it, look for the type of men who will provide it, who are willing to provide it. There is a certain level of wealth, a status, the conversations that you have around it, the type of man that he is and that he expresses himself to be. Maybe a man who is either Taurus sun or Taurus rising would be a really good match to you. Someone who is very stable, who has a steady income, a steady job, and not necessarily maybe in finance he works, because of Mars and Taurus, as well as, I'm trying to look at your chart, and you have your sun in Pisces. Someone, maybe he is sun in Taurus, Taurus rising, with either a Cancer aspect or or even better, someone with a Scorpio aspect. So sort of moon in Scorpio that matches your moon, or sun in Scorpio that matches your moon with the Taurus rising. So that I always let women know that, or people looking for compatibility, like the sort of signs that are matching the type of chart that you have. You need a stability in your sign. You need someone with a lot of fixed, notes in their chart, whether that's fixed signs or fixed planets that are dominant in their chart, and that are not, you don't want someone who's Uranus and Taurus coming at you with like, hey, let's get together. Although that wouldn't happen lifetime, because Uranus, that wouldn't be there right now.
Yeah.
But you know what I'm trying to say? Someone who can really give you stability emotionally, physically, and financially.
Mm-hmm.
So, don't go out there expecting stability and financial, wealth from someone who's not going to provide it for you, or who's not willing to. And that might be the reason why you haven't found love so far, because the type of men that you are attracting into your life, you haven't done the work yourself to attract the type of men that you need. That's why the North Node is in Aries. That's why the Jupiter's in Aries. Focus on making yourself the best version of you, so you can attract the right partner. And that wound that you have around money, around your material wealth, around what you are worthy of, that wound will be healed through the experience you have of making yourself the best version, getting therapy, which I'm sure, since you have a strong Scorpio, you do probably do something in therapy.
Oh yeah, the viewer does.
Whether you're a life coach or a therapist or something.
Yeah, she
you
is.
have a very strong Scorpio.
Yeah.
So, and in that way, you want to be the type of person that is ready for love. You always, especially Jupiter, who's going to expand not just the good traits about your personality, but the bad ones. You want to know, where are my flaws? What do I need to make better about myself? Learn as much as you can about love, I just recommended the book Mating in Captivity by Esther Perel. So if you want to read a book, read that. Or even I like another one, The Zimzum of Love. I don't remember the author, but these books about relationships would really benefit you if you want to work on that, because your life is so focused on yourself that maybe that relationship aspect, you don't know how to necessarily fix it. Your focus on yourself is an illusion, right? You have Neptune square, I think Jupiter. Yeah, 1, 2, 3, 4. You have Neptune square Jupiter, and that there's an illusion around who you are. There's an illusion around what you will be and what you represent. And so instead of focusing on what you don't know, study, learn, grow on the things that you don't know, so that you yourself are ready once you meet that person, right? Your wounds are also the key to creating the type of life that you want in partnership.
Yeah.
So yeah.
Those are really good insights. Yeah, when it seems like there's that balance that's needed. I think from what I'm gathering from the things that we've both said, this viewer is drawn to somebody that has power, is successful, but needs somebody that's stable. So it's like finding the balance for that, because I think power can sometimes be an illusion. Like you could be drawn to somebody that's like successful, powerful, dominant, but does that mean stable? Does that mean those qualities that you've mentioned, Stella, would be really compatible and good for this person? So it's almost like this person needs to figure out what's the difference. Like she's driven by power, but power doesn't mean stability, and what she really needs is stability, and what she's really drawn to is stability and success. But what that looks like, that might be something that she might need to think about and open her mind to, right? Like you said, it doesn't have to be the billionaire, the millionaire, right? It doesn't have to be the snazzy, swanky, successful person. It could be the person that has the everyday job that's like, say, an accountant. I don't know. I'm going to name something that seems boring to me because I'm a Sag rising. An accountant, somebody that's an accountant, and is actually powerful in that way behind the scenes because they have power within themselves. So outside, they may not look powerful, but they are powerful because they have a powerful sense of who they are. They have a powerful connection to family. They have a powerful sense of stability. So if there's a book out there that kind of analyzes the differences between the two, this person should read it, because finding that difference between power and stability and success, what does that mean for that person, I think could help hold the key to that person being able to continue to better navigate who's a good fit for them. And then I agree with you. This person would probably need somebody that's stable in a way, but then the pitfall is finding somebody that's stable, maybe has those Taurus qualities because her Mars is in Taurus. But one of the pitfalls with Taurus that I have personally encountered as of late. I love my Tauruses, but they're not easy. And I think it's because I'm a Sag rising. So we're both butt heads. So Tauruses, they're very stable. They're very practical. They're good with their money. Love all of that. But they're also very set in their ways and very much it's my way or the highway. And I don't know if that would work so well with this person. So I like, Stella, how you mentioned the combo of like, yeah, maybe like a Taurus rising and they have like Cancer placements, and there needs to be a balance there. I think if this person found somebody that was very strong in the earth element or very like Taurus-like, very stubborn, I think it would be hard because this person, I gather from this chart, even though this person is a great person, can also be very opinionated and also needs to be, because developing her sense of identity is something that is her sole purpose. So if she's with somebody that's very much, well, it's my way or the highway, and what you say doesn't matter, that's going to limit her soul growth. But at the same time, she needs somebody that has those qualities. So it's finding that balance. Again, I also noticed as far as the elements stack up, this person's weakest elements are air and earth. So that's why this person would another reason why this person would do well with somebody that brings that stability, because that might not be her strongest suit. But then again, she does have a focus on money, I can imagine, and stability with Chiron being in the second house, but it comes from a sense of fear and not a sense of having overcome it or become a master of it. I get the sense. Exactly. And then also this person has midheaven in Capricorn. So being successful is such a focus, but I think there could be like a lack of know-how and confidence there, but that need and desire is there. And then air is all about the sign of like, is the element. It's my favorite element. It's my top element. Like I am an airhead. I am all air. So, which could have its challenges, but air, that element, has the advantage of looking at things from different perspectives, you know, being objective, seeing the possibilities. And this person may be
And
lacking
they
in
might be
that a
more
little bit.
open. They might be more open to the lifestyle that she might need. You know what I'm saying? They might be more open to the lifestyle of providing for her. You
Yeah.
know, whereas an earth sign might need a more equal partner or someone who would be willing to do, you know, get in the dirt with them. So, you know, that's the air signs are much more easygoing when it comes to that.
Yeah. So maybe like an earth air combo. I think this person should date a Libra. Maybe like a Taurus
Mhm.
Libra combo might be nice with like a little dash of Scorpio, but not a Scorpio moon, maybe. Like, I don't know.
Mhm.
That would be like if I were to make a recipe for the perfect man for this person, it would be like an earth air combo with a little bit of sensitivity in there, but not too much, just a little. Because this person's strongest elements are fire and water. So it's like fire and water, it makes smoke. It's just like this person has strong emotions, I gather from the person's chart, and also is very go-getter. Like, I want to do this, I'm going to get it done, but may not always think about what are the consequences, or may have started to think more of that with age and wisdom, but it's not a natural trait or skill.
I mean, right now I would say like the hardest part of their lives has already passed. Their oh my gosh, the Saturn return. I'm trying to remember all these things at the same time. Their Saturn return might have already happened, but in terms of when is a good time for them to really get into a relationship and maybe even focus on relationship, I would say whenever Venus is transiting their 7th house, which would be, you know, which would have been last month. Now it's in Sagittarius. It's in the 8th house. Or whenever their sun is moving through it. So right now the sun is going to be basically transiting over Pluto and the moon. So in the next few weeks, as it moves through Scorpio, these are a really good times for you to maybe go out on dates, to understand, you know, your relationship better, get into reading about relationships and learning about them, as well as recognizing that you need depth in your relationships. So maybe looking at the type of partnerships you've had over the last year and seeing, hey, was this as deep as I thought it was? Or am I under the illusion of Neptune that's telling me, because it's conjunct the moon and it's conjunct their 7th house, is it telling me like, hey, this guy is for you when he's really not? You know what I mean? And of course, Neptune in Capricorn leans more conservative. It's, you know, it kind of cancels out some of the Neptune-esque type of, you know, issues, but it's still the illusion master. So it can also do the opposite and bring illusions to serious matters. And you can end up in relationships that you're maybe not happy in, or maybe end up looking at men in a way that is not necessarily healthy for you. Maybe you're looking at it in a toxic way that is not supportive of the type of man that you need. So be clear about what your intentions are, be clear about who you're dating, be clear if they're on the same page as you. Like, you know, with Neptune sort of making some aspects to your 7th house, you don't want to ever question that person. You want to have a lot of clarity in your relationships and be very set and clear about what you know, are doing, so to speak. So yeah,
that's the good thing with Taurus. They're all about clarity. So they'll give that to her.
Yeah, that's why I said, I was like, if you got a Taurus, he's going to tell you, you know. A Gemini will speak it to you, but he's very flaky. And that,
Gemini, not a good fit.
A Gemini. But if you've got a Taurus with, you know, some you know, aspects in Scorpio, and what was the other thing you had mentioned? One that
like maybe a sprinkle, like quite a bit of Libra, like a Libra, like a Libra, like maybe even an Aquarius, somebody that has like some Aquarius traits, because the Juno and Venus are in Aquarius, and Aquarius people tend to be I tend to be a fan of Aquarians. They're very open-minded, because it's like the unconventional sign, and they're like the best friends of the zodiac, like, and this person needs like a best friend and to develop that foundation to then even see if it could be a romantic situation. That'll be very important for this person. So having that balance.
Aquarius is the highest evolution of the air signs. It's also the last masculine sign. So it might bring a little bit of balance to that Pluto in Scorpio, where there's a lot of energy around power and control. And they might be more flexible than maybe even, a Gemini air or a Libra air sign. You know what I'm saying? Like it might be a lot easier for you to deal with in terms of a long-term relationship, someone who's more Aquarian in nature.
Yeah. And Aquarians tend to be very much about equality, like everybody's the same. And like that could be an interesting dynamic that this person may or may have not encountered before. I mean, we can go on and on with the challenges, the opportunities for this person. So, but we only have so much time. But the last thing I would love to go over, in case you have any thoughts of it. Well, one thing I want to mention that I noticed from the chart that could be interesting for this person to consider is creativity seems to be, there isn't like a strong presence, or there's somewhat of a presence of creativity being a focus, not strongly, but I got a sense from a certain part of the chart with Venus being in good aspect with Saturn that, writing, like airing out feelings or like expressing yourself could be a way to just cure loneliness, to kind of find a sense of self. I think that's the most important thing for this person finding a home within themselves, like having their sense of self, finding fulfillment within themselves emotionally and in all the ways, so that they come into a relationship their whole selves and don't look for that other person for the power and the stability and all this and that they feel like they don't have themselves when they've had it all along.
Man, you hit the nail on the head.
Okay.
Because with all of the things that I've been saying, the experiences that they would gain from attracting the right person, it is for their highest evolution. And you want to be able to say that you are independent and everything else, because that's what you want as a person, that you got everything in your first house according to, whole sign chart. You want to say that you don't need anyone. But the reality is you're longing for love. You're longing for that fulfillment. But it's only through your evolution that you will find it. It's only through you curing your own wounds that you'll find it. It's not going to happen before that. And I think that I haven't been very emphatic about it, but you got to fix you. What about you is wrong? What about you feels like it could be better? Not in a way like I'm going to go get plastic surgery. I'm going to go, no, your wounds, your insides, how you are as a person. How can you be a better partner? What do you have to offer? Start writing it down every day, because once you have value in yourself, that's when your relationships develop. Once you have value in who you are, that's when you can connect on a deeper level, like your Scorpio moon wants to. So
absolutely. And according to the Placidus house system, the North Node is in the 12th house in Aries. So regardless, the focus of the soul purpose is having this sense of self. But if you take into account the Placidus house system, it also takes into account 12th house areas of surrender, but also knowing more about what's hidden, like your subconscious, all those kinds of things. So, perhaps part of this person's soul purpose is getting a sense of self, but knowing how to do that, knowing that they are one of many, like they're not above anybody, they're not below anybody, and also trying to understand their sense of self from the conscious and also the subconscious, like really getting a deep sense of their whole being, which is, it's not an easy journey and it takes a lot of effort, but that is, I agree with you, Stella. I think that's what will help and add to the possibility of this person finding like a true soulmate romantic connection that this person wants.
Yep. Work on you, lady.
Work on you, do you. I'm going to stop the share as we wrap this up. So thank you all for listening to this viewer question. If you're interested in submitting your viewer question, you can, there's a link to the form below in the description for this episode. feel free to fill it out. You know, who knows, you might be featured in a future viewer question episode of the Astro Read. And definitely stay tuned. We have other episodes coming up. We'll be bringing back some celebrity segments, which we all know you know and love. They tend to be our most popular episodes. So Stella and I are really happy to do some more celebrity episodes, especially celebrities that are really in the moment right now. What about you, Stella? Any last words before we say goodbye for this episode?
Nothing. I'm excited for our viewer to hear our advice. I'm excited to see what she thinks. And, you know, if she wants to make a comment, let us know. And what do you guys think? How does it affect you? Where are your planets? And how would you like to attract love in this lifetime? You know, if you would like to see your questions answered, feel free to reach out to either of us. We'd be happy to do a reading for you where we can really dive deep into what sort of needs you have in your romantic relationships and what specific questions we can answer according to your astrology. And, you know, I love astrology. So anything that you need analyzed is my favorite thing to talk about.
Yeah. And especially when it comes to love or just figuring yourself out, astrology can be such a good tool for building that self-awareness and adding context to why things may have happened in your life the way it has and why you are the way you are. So yeah, very well said, Stella. So for now, we'll leave you for now. It's a goodbye and a see you later, and definitely see you. Yeah. And so in the meantime, take care. We look forward to, meeting with you in future episodes. So bye for now, everybody.
Bye, everybody. Bye.